Lasky Page, Isola, McMullen. 7 solo home runs for the Dodgers yesterday. It tied the all-time record. LA's the best team in the National League over the last month. Ever since what, Bill Plaschke?
Since Justin Turner came back?
Since you said they were done and over.
Curse of Bill.
Also, the World Cup pump stream. How great is this? Let's go around the horn. That's the reaction.
For the record, I never said it was over.
You know, they scored in the
It's
third minute.
Around
That
the
means you have
Horn,
beer
the show
all over
of
yourself for the
competitive
next
better.
87 minutes.
Here's Tony Reali.
While the Los Angeles Lakers pitch Paul George, Ramona Shelburne reporting LeBron James does not want elaborate recruiting pitches. If that's the case, Frank Isola, what are we looking at here?
Hopefully a quick one, since we'll all be covering it starting July 1st. But I also think for LeBron, I think he's reached a point in his career, for a guy of his age who's been through the league a number of times, you're not going to dazzle him, telling him, hey, come to New York with all these celebrities. Same thing with the Lakers. I think right now it's the Lakers and it's the Cleveland Cavaliers. And I also think for him going back to 2010, it still stings a little bit, all the criticism he got for turning it into that big fiasco and then a television production.
Jackie McMullen?
He doesn't need the television production because, as Frank pointed out, he's learned a lot since then. LeBron's in control of everything, so all he has to do, if he wants to talk to the Lakers, is call Magic himself. Or if he wants to talk to Houston, talk to his buddy Chris Paul. So he's in control of his own destiny, and there's all sorts of stuff going on in the back channels, you can be sure of that, but it doesn't need to be for huge public consumption. So I'm within agreement with Frank, though. I think it is down to the Cavaliers, and I think there is a chance he stays, believe it or not, and also the Lakers. So all the other pomp and circumstance, it's almost irrelevant. What's the point of it? It's not like at this point he needs it for his own self-worth or anything.
Bill Plaschke?
I think this is a direct message to the Lakers. I wrote about this Sunday. They have lost free agents in the past by trying to sell glitz and glamour. They wanted Dwight Howard, couldn't get him. Wanted LaMarcus Aldridge, couldn't get him. I think LeBron's telling the Lakers, tell me about the basketball. Sell me on the basketball. Tell me how we can be competitive, how we can win. Where am I going to play? How's the team going to be run? That's what he wants to hear from the Lakers. I think this is a direct message to them. Whether they can produce or not, I don't know. But it's a direct message to the Lakers.
Mm-hmm. Woody Page?
That's why I think, Bill, that LeBron should get with each one of the teams. And what I mean is not 14 or 15 reps and have big parades downtown and billboards. What I think is meet somewhere like Colorado, that is in the center of the country, as you know, in Vail, Colorado, and bring in the San Antonio Spurs, Greg Popovich, bring in Magic Johnson, bring in Danny Ainge, bring in who's ever running the Philadelphia franchise now and say, you got an hour. Tell me something I don't already know, because as you point out, he knows about the cities, he knows about the personnel, but it may be something in regard to what they want to do during the offseason and heading forward that he can find out. But, Frank, I disagree with you. I think it comes down to, no, Jackie, I disagree with you. It comes down to the Lakers and the Lakers. So it doesn't matter.
You don't think there's anybody else in play? Well, let me ask it this way. Jackie Mack, you could start us off. The number one deciding factor for LeBron James will be what?
Well, normally I would say winning, but I think that one of the problems and the reason this is such a tough decision for LeBron is I'm not sure how he can upgrade his winning from where he is right now. So then it becomes winning and comfort level for his family, and that's why we come to the Lakers-Cavs conclusion.
Well, wouldn't Houston upgrade his chance of winning, Jackie?
He has no
Frank?
chance of going there, Tony. You can't make the numbers work. It's not going to happen.
Frank,
well, first of all, wherever he goes, he's going to win wherever he goes. It's unless you join the Warriors, it's going to be tough to beat them. But Jackie's right, though. I think now it's about family. His kids are getting older. He wants them to be comfortable in high school, which is why they've been scouting high schools in the L.A. area for the last 2 years.
We've heard that, and we've heard about whatever it was in Houston as well. Bill Plaschke, how about you?
Yeah, no, I'm hearing out here that it's about a chance to win a championship. And that's why the Lakers, he won't come to the Lakers, we're hearing, unless someone comes with him. Unless Paul George comes, unless Chris Paul comes, unless Kawhi Leonard, he won't come alone. That's what we're hearing.
And Woody Page.
Yeah. Well, and that's the point I would agree on, that it's family and championships, because if his family wants to live in Los Angeles after living in Miami and Cleveland, and they're now prepared, as his son is, to go to school out there, that's going to rule over everything else, along with the fact that they're trying to build a championship quickly.
Jackie, you want a last word?
Just, Bill, the only thing I would say is if he doesn't come alone, do we think that if LeBron comes with Paul George that they're going to win a championship?
I think he thinks he'll have a chance to build that and build it into next summer. I think the chances are just as good as days in Cleveland right now because the Lakers, until the Lakers can produce Paul George or until they can prove they can get someone else to help him out, I don't think he's coming.
Okay. No one else wants to throw Philadelphia out there as a potential roster that might be ready, especially if you take LeBron off Cleveland in the East and you're really just looking at Boston.
More the city, and not there's anything wrong with Philadelphia. I love it.
Sounds like you're saying something's wrong with Philadelphia, Boston.
No, the exact opposite. Philly and Boston are blood brothers. Are you kidding me? We're both cranky when our teams lose and elated when our teams wins. We're the same.
We'll move on. Football now. And by football, I mean the suspension Julian Edelman is appealing and the suspension Jameis Winston is facing. Let's start with Winston. Alleged sexual assault of an Uber driver 2 years ago. How should the NFL be considering this? How should Winston be addressing this? And how should the Buccaneers proceed? Jackie Mack, you want to start us off there?
Sure. So I think Jameis Winston's in some trouble, and I'm going to guarantee that there's going to be a suspension here. The issue with the Uber driver was Winston claimed he was alone. That was corroborated by his good old friend Ronald Darby, who played with him at Florida State and also vouched for him in that sexual assault case that he had all the way back in 2012. But there was a third person who, by the way, is incarcerated. His name is Brandon Banks, and he's in there. He's in prison for quite a while. And they've insinuated there was a third person in the Uber car, and he was in the front seat. So basically, they were insinuating that Banks, well, they're throwing Banks under the bus. And you know what? His attorney came out and said, not so fast. My client said he watched Winston leave alone in that Uber. He was alone. And so not only is Jameis Winston in trouble because of this Uber driver, who, by the way, didn't ask for money, isn't seeking any money, just contacted Uber to say that she didn't want him to be a driver in an Uber anymore. So I think she's a very, very credible person here. Also, now you have a third guy saying, hey, you're not throwing me under the bus. You left alone. So not only is Winston involved in this, he also clearly or allegedly lied about it. So how can the NFL look the other way? They can't.
Bill Plaschke?
Yeah, I think just almost as bad as not as bad as a crime, but adding to the alleged crime is the line, is the cover up, and I think Tampa Bay has a very difficult decision to make at this point. Do they, if he's going to be quarterback beyond this year, they got to pay him $20.9 million to do it. Do they want him, given his history, given all the trouble he's been in? Do they want him to be the face and the leader of this franchise? I don't think they do. I think the suspension stays. I think suspension, even because of the cover-up, may get pushed up to 6 games. And at that point, Tampa goes with Ryan Fitzpatrick and maybe tanks the season and try to get a quarterback for next year. I don't see how his career at Tampa is going to last much longer than this year at this rate.
Woody Page?
Let's talk about the football aspects. First of all, if he's suspended for 3 games, those games include at the Saints, against the world champion Eagles, and the Patriots. They're not going to win it whether he's there or not. But let's go back to last year. As a starter, he was 3-10. Would they really miss him at all if he was out the entire season? They're not going to pick up his last year and $20 million. They shouldn't have drafted him. It was too close to the situation at Florida State. Now they got to get out from under it and start all over again because they're a lousy team, certainly with him. In regard to the matter of the suspension, though, it's 3 games because they're not talking about the incident. They're talking about that he didn't report the incident, which was part of the agreement with the NFL. So they're able to get around that, no, he hasn't been convicted of anything in this because he didn't follow the rules of reporting it.
Mm-hmm. Frank Isola?
And I really thought he had the potential here to be a pretty good quarterback, but his track record off the field is now hurting him on the field. And what everyone talked about, I mean, here's a guy that's going to only make $700,000 this year. Next year it jumps up to $20 million, as Bill said. And if he gets hurt during the season, they'd have to guarantee most of that money. And who knows if the GM's going to be there? Who knows if the head coach is going to be there after this year, if the whole thing falls apart? So for Jameis Winston, he's got trouble off the field. When it comes to being the starting quarterback for Tampa Bay, he's in a world of trouble because I think he's going to get suspended, and I don't think he's going to be on the team next year.
Something you'd like to add to that, Jackie?
Yeah, it's funny. If we were talking about Ben Roethlisberger, maybe when he had his trouble all those years ago, he was so good, the Steelers found a way to deal with it. This is a guy whose QBR last year was 48. That put him 18th in the NFL. This guy isn't worth it, Tony. He's not good enough on the field.
Julian Edelman, his appeal being heard today, Jackie Mack. This is in your neck of the woods. Where are the Patriots with all this?
Well, Julian Edelman has retained outside counsel, and the reason for that is, Tony, they're going to aggressively suggest that the NFL mishandled the results of Julian Edelman's test. So when you think about that, when there's misappropriation of how this test was handled, how can that be upheld? And I think that will be the position that Edelman and his attorneys will take. And I think he's going to have a pretty good chance here.
Frank Isola?
Yeah, and Edelman, too. Remember, he missed all of last season, and 4 games out of a 16-game season is a lot. Plus, he's getting up there in age. Who knows? Maybe this could be the last run overall with the Patriots and Tom Brady, who seems to talk about retirement every other day. He wants those 4 games for obvious reasons, financially and also for his career.
Woody Page?
Edelman is third on the all-time list with the Patriots behind Wes Welker and Rob Gronkowski, and I think he wants to go over 400 receptions and have a chance at being the all-time leading receiver with Tom Brady. So that's the side issue. The main issue is here, when they tested him, what he was accused of doing wasn't on the list of drugs that is performance enhancing. So I think they have an issue there. The NFL does. They have messed up on testing techniques in the past, and we've seen it in Major League Baseball where the messengers would stop and have lunch and put it on the dining room table. And there have been other cases in the NFL where guys were in Denver, for instance, where the player got off because he said the marijuana was in his hair, and it was proven to be right. So I think they are not infallible in their testing, and I think he's going to do as much as possible in his counsel to show that they were wrong in this case on 2 counts.
Bill Plaschke.
No, I'm sure Edelman's going to go hard at but the NFL has to go hard back at him, especially Woody, when you were talking about this drug that they had not heard of before. Everybody's talking about how the players and athletes are now ahead of the testers on this HGH and all these performance-enhancing drugs. They're inventing new things every day. The NFL needs to get a hold of this and figure out if indeed this is something illegal and something that they don't know what's going on. I think the NFL needs to fight back. I don't blame them for trying to get out of the suspension. The NFL needs to hold their ground on this one.
I mean, they can hold their ground up, Bill, and I'm not naive enough, I don't think any of us, to say, oh, Julian Edelman's innocent. He didn't do anything wrong. But you know what? If procedurally it wasn't handled properly, it's irrelevant whether it was he's guilty or not. If the procedure, that's true in court, that's true everywhere, right?
They can't go back and accuse him with something that wasn't on the list.
Yes, they can. Oh, yes, they
can.
Well,
whether they can or they can't, we've seen the NFL try
they do what they want,
a couple different things in the past. Usually what they want, as Jackie just said. We're going to take a break right here. Buy or sell on the other side. Well, we'll talk some sports.
The World Cup
I think some
scoring.
games, actually. Maybe you guys have a chance to do some scoring.
Well, gee, that would be nice. Thank you, Tony.
The World Cup of Around the Horn.
Buy or sell.
Best team in the National League over the last month, as previously discussed, the Los Angeles Dodgers. The moment Bill Plaschke said it was over for them, they started winning. Tonight, another series with the Cubs, as David Lloyd just told us, recently swept. They're going the other way. We know it's been the last 2 postseasons between these two. Bill, you're muted right now. So, Woody, what's this a bigger series for?
It's for the Cubs, not the Dodgers. The Dodgers are close to pulling ahead of the Diamondbacks. They're going to win the division. The Cubs are going to be fighting 5 or 6 teams for one of those playoff spots at the end of the year. They got to get it back together after losing 4 straight to those woeful Cincinnati Reds. It's all about them. The Dodgers are getting totally healthy. They're on a roll.
Oh, come on now. Remember, the Dodgers haven't won yet. The Cubs have won. There's always more pressure on Bill Plaschke and the L.A. Dodgers to win, especially with Clayton Kershaw. The Cubs have Lester and Hendricks going. Hendricks has started only 1 game in his career at Dodger Stadium, 7 innings, 1 earned run. All the pressure's on the Dodgers.
Small sample.
Yeah, but you know what, Frank? The problem with the Cubs isn't their starters. My colleague Jesse Rogers of ESPN points out that more than 40% of inherited runners have scored in the month of June, as opposed to 19% in the month of May. And that's because Brandon Morrow's out with a bad back. Carl Edwards Jr. is out with a sore shoulder. They have serious, I said shoulder, not soldier. They have serious problems in their bullpen. And until they get that straight, I don't like the Cubs' chances against anybody.
They missed Chapman.
When you're not a soldier. How about you, Plaschke?
For the record, I never said the season was over. I said they were the worst team in baseball, and they were on May 14th. They were the worst team in baseball, the worst team I'd ever seen. They're the best in the National League since then, but the pressure in this series is all on them to see if they're for real. Clayton Kershaw making this only a second start since coming off the injury. That's huge for them. So they have to show their depth. They lost it last week.
All right. Bill, I'll give you credit for showing your depth. You didn't say it was over. Actually, I think you did, but it was off camera. But that's fine.
No,
that's
I
fine. You said they were the worst team.
Get the tape.
You said they were the worst team in the league. You're right about that. We'll move on. Buy or sell two. Carmelo Anthony Thunderer. He's picking up that $27.9 million option he just left lying there. 12th highest paid player in the league next season. Would he buy or sell that play by Melo? Buy or sell the position that puts the Thunder in?
First, Bill, it will be over for you in about 2 minutes, so just relax.
Oh, come on.
There's a collective sigh of relief throughout Oklahoma. Carmelo's back. What? After all that sacrifice he made last year, he's going to make one more sacrifice and show up with the Thunder. They would want no part of this when really, if they re-sign George, they're going to be $120 million salary cap tax. Can you believe that for Oklahoma City? Okay. I don't think he's going to do anything.
I think there's a lot of sarcasm in Woody's answer, at least to start. How about you, Frank Isola?
Yeah, Woody makes it sound like he's footing the bill here. Carmelo only went to Syracuse for 1 year, but he's pretty good at math. He had to opt into this contract. It's too much money. Here's the deal with Carmelo. Dwayne Wade has made the adjustment to being a backup player. There's nothing wrong with, at this stage of your career, being a terrific six-man. Your career will last a lot longer. That's the sacrifice he should make.
Okay, but can the Thunder live with a six-man making $27.9 million? Jackie Mack, you want to answer that?
Well, you know what? When they took on Carmelo Anthony, they had to know this was going to happen. That's just simple effing out. So they were prepared for that. And I'm with Frank here. He needs to look at Vince Carter and decides he wants to be him instead of what Allen Iverson did at the end of his career, thinking everywhere he went he needed to be the star with a lot of shots.
Flashy.
The real story here is what does this do for Paul George and whether he comes to the Lakers or not.
Oh, my
and I think it keeps it's a story. It keeps him at Oklahoma City. He has a better chance, as bad as Carmelo is, he has a better chance to win with Carmelo and Westbrook than he does with the Lakers right now if they don't get LeBron. This is not good for the Lakers. I
mean, it's going to be over for you right now. Why even answer the next question, Flashy? Buy or sell 3 NBA awards tonight. Can Woj tell us who the voters are enamored with, taken with, fond
man, that
of,
was awesome.
enchantment under the sea type way? Before? Any intrigue tonight, Frank, or where's the intrigue, actually?
Well, it kind of stinks that LeBron's not going to be there. There is intrigue with Dwayne Casey up for Coach of the Year, and he's up for Coach of the Year as a member of the Toronto Raptors. Also, Rookie of the Year. What's interesting tonight, who the voters voted for gets revealed, so we're going to find out who did not vote Jason Tatum first team all rookie. How did you do that?
Frank, can you reveal who you voted for now, or is that still frowned upon?
Donovan Mitchell and Quinn Snyder and James Harden.
Mm-hmm. Jackie Mack, how about you?
I voted for Ben Simmons, Brad Stevens, and who was the third one? MVP?
MVP. James Harden.
James Harden. That's who I voted for. And I do think there is intrigue about the Coach of the Year because we heard a lot about coaches really trying to rally around him for the coach's vote. Journalists don't care about that sort of thing. I think that's going to be the closest race and the most interesting one.
Go Flashy.
I stay on the court to the end of the game. I'm going to answer this question, Tony. I'm not walking off. Jackie, how can you vote for Ben Simmons as the Rookie of the Year when he's not a rookie? I think that's the intrigue.
Bill, you and I have been through this before.
On the ballot.
We've been through this before. He's on the ballot.
Let's go through it again. We got time.
I don't make up who's on the ballot, okay? I agree with you, your point. When you're a rookie and you sit out the year, you do get the benefits from your team and all that.
All
but until they change the rule, Bill, we have to go by the rules that are given to us when we vote.
And Woody Page, you want to join in here? Tell us if there's any intrigue.
And who you think is a rookie.
I voted for Harry Truman, Dwight Eisenhower, and John Kennedy. I think that the Rookie of the Year is the most intriguing because they're going to change the rule, and tonight will shine a total light on that, so it'll be right moving forward.
You might be right about that. He might be right.
There you go, Woody Page. Plasky. It's over. Isola got passed by Page in the left lane. Woody, Jackie, showdown next. Woody Page, Jackie McMullen, good luck in showdown. World Cup, Russia, Uruguay, Spain, Portugal, advancing. Those were straightforward. What we have coming up, qualifying out of group, is not. England and Belgium coming even in points, even in differential. Winner will be the 1, loser will be the 2. If they draw, it'll come down to fair play. They'll count yellow and red cards. Woody, all fair and fair play?
Sure, absolutely. I think that Belgium's got a tank, though, that they send out one of their subs, and he gets a red card, and they have the advantage there because you don't want to be in the higher end of the bracket. And Belgium, do not waffle on this play.
Woody, only you would start talking about tanking during the World Cup. Are you out of your mind? Listen, I don't agree with the idea of yellow cards and red cards deciding this, but I'm saving my outrage for something bigger because both of them get to advance, Tony.
I'm not saving my outrage. Waffle, Belgian waffle, losing Woody points. We'll move on. Maybe would be the ninth inning go-ahead homer or double or a hit of some kind off the bat of Clint Frazier. Went off the speaker on the roof of the Trop and into the glove of an infielder. Yankees lost in 12. Rays won. Home field advantage or lame, Jackie?
It is a home field advantage. It reminds me of those Bird and Jordan McDonald's commercials. Off the bat, off the speaker, and into the glove. And I don't love it, but it's,
Jackie,
again, the way it's...
a home field advantage is the left field wall, the ivy in Wrigley Field. It's certainly not a speaker that's on the field of play. And if anything, if that is lame, building that stadium was lame to begin with.
Woody, you're right. You're getting 3 points, but you still lose 1 to negative 2. Jackie Mack, take the first.
You might say it takes a lot of courage to appear nude in the ESPN body issue, and by the way, I would agree with you, but it takes even more courage to do what Breonna Stewart did, which in addition to that is she talked for the first time really extensively about being sexually abused by her aunt's husband. As you can imagine, it was a horrific experience for Breonna Stewart, but she chose to talk about it because she wants to help people going forward who have been sexual abuse victims. And one of the reasons she decided to be in the body issue was to reclaim her own body. What a lot of courage. And great for you, Breonna, going forward to help other victims who have been through this.
What a display of strength to ease her pain and help others. Thank you, Jackie. Back tomorrow.